Well, how does salvation work for non-Israelites?
There is no mixed people according to the Bible, according to God.
Everybody agrees in the congressional debates is that the children of tribal Indians are not birthright citizens.
Because of the blood quantum, the quotas that tribes have within themselves, within our own communities.
White settlers imposed blood quantum as a way to limit the rights of Native people.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up out of your sleep!
Blood quantum is complicated, controversial, and personal.
I'm gonna show you a clip. I'm about to show you a clip. And the brother that's talking in this clip, he is a very well-known and very well-respected Moreh teacher in the Black Hebrew Israelite community. And he is a captain of the IUIC. Now, when I show you this, yes, he's a Black Hebrew Israelite, but what he is saying does not just pertain to the Negro from a Black Hebrew Israelite perspective. See, the thing is, I have more than one audience that have kind of come together here, which is those of us who believe that the Negro is, strictly speaking, the American Indian, which if you spend any amount of time on my channel, you know that I am all for that perspective. That is essentially what this channel is about. However, there's this other audience who believes that the Negro is, strictly speaking, descended from the ancient Israelites, the Yatzaralim. And if you spend enough time on my channel, you will realize that behind the Indian identity is indeed this ancient Israelite identity as well. Now, the rabbit holes we have to take to get there are intense and sophisticated and complicated and blah, 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 blah. But there is a connection between the two. And for those who don't believe so, suspend your disbelief for a moment. Because what I'm about to talk about pertains to a clip that I'm about to show you. And this whole topic also directly relates to a presentation that I'm about to drop. But I wanted to do this video first before I drop that video. All right, so just understand there's a video coming right after this one shortly that is related to this, because it's going to bring the receipts that contextualize this whole conversation. But for now, try to wrap your brains around the fact that what this IUIC brother is about to say, I'm about to play the clip, what he's about to say does not just pertain, listen to me, it does not merely pertain to the Israelite perspective. If you say we are not Israelite, all of that is hogwash. The Bible is a waste of time. None of that has anything to do with anything. I'm not trying to attack you for that. I'm not trying to convince you that you need to spend time in scriptures. All right. If you're not about the biblical scriptures, that's fine. There are American Indian folk traditions, sometimes including scriptures, that you actually should be about. And honestly, you're going to come to the same conclusions no matter which scriptures you read, no matter which traditions you follow. If you understand that the Negro is at the center of either one of them, you will end up coming to the same conclusion, provided that you are seeking out the tradition of specifically your people, the tribes that you come from. This is not about anything mythological. Even if you believe that everything in the Bible is myth, which actually is short-sighted, you have to understand that a lot of it is history. Even if you don't believe in God or Yahweh or the Great Spirit or none of it, you believe in no type of spiritual anything, still a lot of that Bible, so-called Bible, is history regardless, right? And then the folk tradition is woven into it, but there's history regardless. And then there's genealogy regardless. For those of us who are all about proving that we're the Indians, we're all about genealogy, right? I be doing my genealogy. It's a work that's never done. I got so much more to do. And I'm sure all of you do too. It's work that's never done. But the point is this. The point is what this brother's about to say is going to venture into a lane that is very popular for Black Hebrew Israelites to go down. These Black Hebrew Israelites, they speak this on us all the time. So I just want you to pay attention to what this brother's gonna say. This is more so demonstrating that we come into the truth of our identity, but we bring with us an ignorance about genealogy. We bring with us an ignorance about how it works. And that ignorance obfuscates the truth of our own identity. We perpetuate our own sleep by doing that. We actually come into the awakening and then fight the awakening by perpetuating the logic that this brother's about to give you. Watch this.
Thing about mining copper, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper.
In this new episode of the Copper Mining series, the Lois shows us how the Mayans played both sides of the Creek Indian Wars. But this time, she got Annie Yunwea with her. You not ready?
This takes the Mayan angle to a whole new level because Annie Yunwea's videos lately show how Creek Indian tribes had a lot of Mayan ancestry. But now Hiloha is showing us that Mayans were heavily involved in the Creek Indian Wars. Not only that, they go a step further to show how Mayans were part of the free colors that ended up starting Black Wall Streets in Georgia and Alabama. That means the Mayan legacy in the black community gotta be off the chain.
How does salvation work for non-Israelites? Because it seems to me like the scriptures speak to salvation not only being for Israel, but being for any and on all who would believe.
Okay, that's a good question there. Now, one thing that we do believe in according to the scriptures, that there are no half of anybody. There is no mixed people according to the Bible, according to God. There is no mixed people according to the Bible, according to God. The same as, as we always use the example of, you take an apple seed from America and plant it in China, is not now a Chinese apple orange. It comes up as an apple because that is the seed from which it comes from.
Okay, so as you can see, what this dude is saying, this is key. He is saying that, stick with me here. So he is saying that there's no such thing as mixed. There's no such thing as being mixed. And let that part sink in by itself. Just that part by itself. There's no such thing as being mixed. I told you this would pertain to more than just whether or not we're the Israelite. This is about being Indian too. I want you to watch this, because what do the Native Americans tell you? How do they identify themselves to you? And how does that square with what we have learned on this channel about their identity and about their origin?
What is blood quantum? Blood quantum is a non-native construct that refers to the amount of so-called Indian blood an individual has. A person's blood quantum appears as a fraction. This fraction is calculated based on that person's family tree, going back to original census rolls taken by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Many native nations use blood quantum to determine who can and cannot become a citizen.
This brother is teaching many people. I told you, he's a very well-respected teacher. He's no joke, all right? If I may say so, he is a heavyweight in the game. So his word carries weight, is why I say that. He's teaching something that is very common to teach in the Black Hebrew Israelite community. And we have to break down, we have to demonstrate how this logic does not work. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as being mixed. That's what he's saying. Why? What's his reasoning? The rationale is because Israelite seed begets Israelite fruit. If the seed comes from an Israelite, the fruit must be Israelite, period. And he gives the example that if you plant an American apple seed in Chinese soil, you go and plant it in China, what grows will not be some sort of apple orange hybrid. It will still just be an apple tree. That's his example to prove his point, to demonstrate his point, to illustrate it. That's his illustration. He feels that illustration is perfectly analogous to what we're talking about when it comes to the breeding of Israelite men with non-Israelite women. That's what this comes down to. It comes down to Israelite men being with non-Israelite women, and he is providing for you a justification for how it's okay. Now, for those of you who feel like, well, it don't matter because we're not Israelites, no way, we just Indians and it has nothing to do with being Israelite. Okay, you can say that, but guess what? This still affects you. Your perspective depends on how this argument goes too, whether you realize it or not. Because the Native American insists that they are the American Indian. And one thing I have repeatedly shown you on this channel, I've shown you so many different ways, and I've shown you over and over, they are mixed. And we have cause to believe that they know they are mixed. But they insist that being mixed does not make them any less Indian. They are still Indian, period. And that's just the end of story. And anybody who says otherwise is racist. Especially black pretendians like us. The logic is that if you come from an Indian womb, this is matrilineal. Logic is if you come from an Indian womb, you are an Indian. Historically, that's the narrative. If your mother was an Indian, you're an Indian. And we're going to talk more about that and explore the ramifications of that logic much more deeply in the presentation I'm about to drop, that I'm about to release. I've been working on another presentation that kind of deals with that. This is vital to understand. That's why I set aside time to do a preliminary video. I just want to get this out the way beforehand because of how important this is to understand. They're doing the same thing that the black Hebrew Israelites are doing. And there's a reason why. And I want you to understand how detrimental it is and why this is happening. What's the thought process that's behind this? That's what we need to identify. So check this out.
Do you think they're birthright citizens?
No, I think the clear understanding that everybody agrees in the congressional debates is that the children of tribal Indians are not birthright citizens.
Qualitonali, good day. Buenos dias, Palabra 69. Just wanted to share something. My personal opinion, the reason he's excluding the Native Americans from the birthright, citizenship thing here is, you know why? Because of the blood quantum, the quotas that tribes have within themselves, within our own communities. We're ostracizing our own loved ones. We're weeding out our own family for the purpose of this right here. I mean, they don't got to worry about the, Native American birthright. You know why? Because eventually, if we start excluding our own family members who are descendants of our lineage and don't get them enrolled in our tribes, and we hold blood quantum, measurements to our people, of course, eventually we're going to disappear. Doesn't the math add up?
The concept of blood quantum first appeared in the 18th century. White settlers imposed blood quantum as a way to limit the rights of Native people. Later, the federal government used blood quantum as a way to break up native lands into individual plots. Blood quantum did not play a role in determining tribal citizenship until the 1934 passage of the Indian Reorganization Act.
Get exclusive access to all new episodes of the Copper Mining series by joining Munahia as a Red Stick stakeholder. Stakeholder memberships support the campaign for federal recognition of foundational Black Americans as American Indians. Click the link in the description box to start binge watching the Copper Mining series today.
One thing that black Hebrew Israelites know, I promise you, the brother we were just listening to, I promise you, he knows this very well. What I'm about to say is something he knows very well, which is the fact that the passage that most of all demonstrates that we are the Israelites. This is the cornerstone of the argument that we are the Israelites. It all starts with Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28 is key, okay? Deuteronomy 28 is key. Yes, there are other passages that we can use as support scripture for us being the Israelites, but you take away Deuteronomy 28, that's the linchpin right there. That is the cornerstone of the argument. Now, once you understand Deuteronomy 28 correctly, it puts the entire rest of the Bible in perspective. And suddenly everything makes more sense. But Deuteronomy 28 for those who don't know, is the big one, right? And I know a lot of y'all, a good amount of y'all are understanding these things already. But you have to understand some of the, not everyone's on, and not everyone understands, not everyone in my audience understands the Bible equally well. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure that we're all together because it pertains to both sides, no matter which side you're on, because the whole point of this channel is to demonstrate that both sides are actually saying the same thing, whether you noticed or not. You're saying the same thing. It's okay to disagree, but you're actually saying the same thing regardless, right? But we don't all realize it, and I'm trying to show you that in a variety of ways, in a bunch of different presentations, blah 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 blah. But here's the issue. Deuteronomy 28, for those who don't know, is where the argument starts. That's where the argument starts. You start there and build from there. Now, the issue with that is in Deuteronomy 28, verses 45 and 46, a lot of us don't even have to look for the numbers. We already know some of y'all already know where I'm going with this. I know he does. The dude we were just listening to, he would know exactly where I'm going when I say verses 45 and 46. Show us that Israel is marked by the curses. And the curses are in fact a sign of who the Israelites are. That's what verses 45 and 46 tell us, okay? So all the curses in that passage have fallen upon specific ethnic groups around the world. Those ethnic groups are therefore marked by those curses because this combination of things has happened to that group here and that group there. That's how we know those groups are Israelites. Got it? A lot of those curses have to do with slavery, right? There's not just one curse of slavery. There's multiple curses that are describing things that will happen to you in the slavery. And so, yes, you will be enslaved, but you will be cursed to go through slavery several specific ways. And it gives you a bunch of different things. The slave ships are directly mentioned in that. Other things, you will build houses and not get to live in them. You will sow crops and not get to reap what you sow. All of these different things, right? Well, a big one, and Black Hebrew Israelites know this, a big one is that the slave master will sleep with your wife. What it says is another man shall take your wife and lie with her. Slave master is going to sleep with your girl. That's a thing that's going to happen in the slavery that you're going to go through. Black Hebrew Israelites acknowledge that slavery was the slavery we as a people went through. That's why this is the foundation of Black Hebrew Israelite theory. Do you see the problem with that in connection with what Homeboy was saying? Because the thing is, it's the seed that makes you Israelite. According to one of our most respected teachers on the subject, if the seed comes from an Israelite man, then the offspring is an Israelite. So the problem is, if the slave master interrupted that bloodline and slept with an Israelite woman to produce an enslaved child, any boys born that way, from that would grow up enslaved and then procreate with other Israelite women, and then we would have essentially a black lineage coming down. But that black lineage is not Israelite because there is a white man in the line who precipitated that black boy. And so that white man, they want to say all white people are Esau, which I think is ridiculous. But let's say you're right. Let's say all these white people are Esau. I think that's ridiculous, but that's what they teach. That's another thing that they teach. Okay, well, if that white man, if that slave owner was Esau, was a descendant of Esau, if he's an Edomite, then this is now an Edomite lineage. It don't matter how many black women the males of that line procreate with. All the males going down are now going to be Edomites. This is forever Edomite seed from that point forward. And that probably had to happen a lot, since this was a curse that is supposed to mark our bloodlines. We're the Israelites. And one of the things that's going to happen is, one of the things that was supposed to happen in the Deuteronomic curses for the Israelites was some foreigner, some non-Israelite man would sleep with your wife. If that was a rampant problem, then we have a problem, because that means a lot of us look like this. We look like black people, but unbeknownst to us, we have white great grandfathers, and by virtue of that, we are not Israelites. So this presents a contradiction, because you're going around teaching people that black people are the Israelites, but a lot of black people come from some white man somewhere at some point. In order for you to be an Israelite, if they're saying what makes you Israelite is Israelite seed, then that means you need an unbroken, you know what that means? You need an unbroken Y chromosome line going back from you all the way back to ancient Israel. And none of the Y chromosome line is strictly patrilineal. It traces fathers, all the way back forever to the beginning of humanity. Your Y chromosome has to trace back through men that are all Israelite, and there can't be a single one in the last 2,500 years that was anything other than Israelite. If there's even one who is not Israelite, you are not Israelite. From that point forward, that person could have come into the mix 1,000 years ago and you would not know. 2,000 years ago and you would not know. Think about it. It is almost a guarantee that that is indeed what happened to every single one of us. I do not believe that there are black people here today whose Y chromosome line goes all the way back to ancient Israel, unbroken, non-stop Israelite men. No admixture in that whole line. That's impossible. I don't believe that. I don't accept that at all. That you would need to present some reasoning behind why we should believe that, because that's ridiculous. Logic does not hold up. But here's what does hold up, and this is what y'all are running from. What does hold up is the idea that let's go back to the white slave master. If the white slave master did in fact sleep with and impregnate an Israelite woman, and she gave birth to one of your ancestors, and it was a boy, so this is going to be on your Y chromosome line, let's say. That's somebody's Y chromosome line, because all boys are who grow up to become men and procreate. They are part of somebody's Y chromosome line. Then somewhere along the way, that probably happened to you. That probably happened in your Y chromosome line at some point during slavery. And if that's what happened, think about this. We're just following the logic. If that's what happened, you understand what makes you black. Let me not say Israelite, but what makes you black today, the reason why everyone around you identifies you as an African American, is because of the black woman who got with the mixed boy that came from that slave master. So the slave master got with a black woman, and they procreated, and the offspring, let's say, was a mixed boy. The offspring's going to be mixed. We know that, but let's say it's a boy. That boy. And we're saying it's a boy because we're tracing your tracing your Y chromosome, patrilineal line. So strictly patrilineal, right? So this is not about your father's mother. This is about your father's father going back. So forget your father's mother's line. Just this line on your father's side. So that boy was mixed. But what makes you black today is that he mixed back in. What saved your lineage, what made your lineage still be Israelite, could only be a black woman. If any of us are Israelite, it would be because black women got with these mixed men. Anytime a mixed man was procreated by this process, because y'all don't care about the mixed women, and that y'all say, well, a mixed, if it had been a girl, and she then got with a black man, it ain't no thing. It don't matter. That part don't matter, because the black man is the Israelite, and it's the seed that matters anyway. So her womb it doesn't matter. But guess what? The only reason you're black today is because at some point when there was a man who was mixed, and he procreated, and this led down your Y chromosome line. Somewhere in your Y chromosome line this happened. The reason you're still black today, though, is because a black woman got with that man and procreated, and it is her womb that returned that bloodline to blackness, and that is what has preserved your entire lineage as being Israelite. You owe it to the black woman. That's what's got you being Israelite today. Now, how does this relate to the Native American? Check this out.
Blood quantum opponents also point to the arbitrary nature of the original quantum calculations. They mention that blood quantum has non-indigenous roots and can strain families. The most important thing to know about blood quantum: Native nations are sovereign, independent nations. They have the final say when it comes to decisions about blood quantum and citizenship. To learn more about blood quantum, visit nativegov.org.
If the tribal councils don't pass amendments to just include any blood relative. Eventually, the tribes that only hold blood quantum to allow being an enrolled member, eventually those are going to dwindle down, and that's what they're betting on. I mean, they rolled the dice that the divide and conquer tactic is going to keep working amongst ourselves, because they figure if they can pit us against each other as they do, and we are so sharp that for educational purposes it just seems that we don't notice it keeps happening, they're relying on us to exterminate ourselves from them enrollment quotas by doing that blood quantum on our people. My personal opinion, all children matter means the ones that are enrolled as well as the ones that are not enrolled. How can we preach all children matter when we know we have family members who are related by blood, but because the council or whatever doesn't want to change the amendment to include them, and they have to meet a certain percentage of blood? Do the math. It's going to peter out. And then how can you say those aren't my family members? I don't understand that. Stay true to you. My personal opinion on why he ain't messing with that right now, because he knows we'll do it to ourselves.
Native Americans, they claim that they are American Indians. And listen, let me not phrase it that way. Of course you're American Indians. I'm not trying to take your identity from you. You are absolutely American Indians. We just have to qualify in what way are you American Indians? And that is where we get into conflict, because you deny our heritage. Some of us deny your heritage. I deliberately refrain from doing so. I am not saying that you are not American Indian. You, of course you are. You are the holders of our tribal heritages. You are the holders of our traditions. But I say our traditions because we too are American Indians. And what makes us American Indian is not culture. A lot of the tribal tradition, folklore, heritage in general, the music, a lot of those things we lost. There are vestiges of it in black culture today, but for the most part, a lot of it's been lost. We've lost track of those things. So it's not culture that makes us Indian. It's blood that makes us Indian. And that's where the rub is. Because for Native Americans, let's be clear, for Native Americans, I did a whole presentation where I talked about the fact that the history of Indian reservations really starts with what were called half-breed tracts. That's the beginning of Indian reservations. Half-breed tracts, which were basically just dumping ground for people who were mixed Indian and European. That's the beginning of Indian reservations. I did a whole presentation to back that up. All right, I'm not just making these claims empty. I had so many sources linked. I always put the sources in the description box for everything. You can be half, or you can be a quarter, and then the minority of your ancestry dictates your ancestry, which is basically the tail wagging the dog. Right? You're identifying by the small part of what you are, and we got people all over social media doing that. We got loads of white people identifying as black on the basis of saying, oh, my grandfather was black, so I'm black. A quarter count? Even just a quarter counts. That's crazy work. So you see my point. This is what's at stake with that kind of logic. The curses actually require, the Deuteronomic curses actually require a reality to be the case about your bloodline that involves mixing with foreign seed that must have replaced the Israelite seed at some point, if this prophecy is true. So this curse was appointed. You try to figure out a way for it to not apply to you, but for you to still be Israelite, even with the logic that the seed needs to be Israelite. What you're really trying to do is avoid the reckoning that I've brought you to in many previous presentations. I've pointed this out on my channel multiple times, which is that, yes, the womb, the soil in which the seed is planted, must also be Israelite soil. Y'all keep trying to avoid that, but there's no way around it. It's the only way you're even here able to identify as black today, is because a black woman got with a mixed man and was able to preserve your lineage for you. It's the only way that the Y chromosome line can even lead to you looking the way you look. That goes for those of us who are dark-skinned and light-skinned. If you identifying as black, I guarantee you, it is only because some black woman got in the mix and saved you from mixing out. Because once you mix out, you're out. Think about it.